Welcome back to Beauty Marks Podcast, where we embrace marks acquired through our journey, which on this episode, it's going to be the one about me moving out and the things that I've learned from there, and honestly, things that I wish I would have known before as well. So before we jump into it, I'm going to update you guys and let you guys know what's been going on this week. I feel like these conversations make it more personal so that you can also get to know me in a different way, aside from just the kind of interviews and things like that I bring on this platform. So let's talk about a few things. So fall, right? Season is already here. September has kicked in, and apparently that's code for fall. So we're already there. And I saw the recent few fashion outfits and the trends that are going on for 2020, and let me just say that I'm not loving it. The bagginess and just the style is very, like, my mom actually went through her closet and took out a jacket, like a leather fake faux jacket, and she gave it to me, and she's like, well, this was in trend back in the day, like in the 2000s, and I still have it. And that is the kind of jacket that is in this year's fashion trends. So it's insane how really fashion doesn't, it comes back. So when in reality, I'm like, should I just keep all my clothes so that my future children can be in fashion in the next 20, 30 years? Because it'll probably be back to the same trends again. So also my birthday is coming up. So I am turning 25 on 9/11. And I know, crazy as it is, everybody's reaction after 2001 is, oh my God, your birthday's on 9/11? Like, that's always like the first reaction, especially when they're like, okay, what's your birthday? And then I tell them, and then it's like, it takes them 1 second to put it together. And then they're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. How do you feel? They ask all these questions. But overall, even though, yes, it is a very sad day, after the Twin Towers in 2001, I still do celebrate my birthday. And I honestly, it's something that, I enjoy and are pretty big in my family. So let's just jump right into the episode for what we're going to be talking about today. So something that was not told to me was about number one, about that you will feel homesick. So disclaimer, this is all my personal opinion and what I experienced moving out. And because of my family dynamics, like I was very close to my family. I had a good relationship, even though we did have some, discussions and issues just like every other family. But moving out, I definitely realized like how much I missed them, and I felt homesick. So in the beginning, when I first moved out, there was a lot of opposition, like from my parents and all of that, for me to move out. And then I was like, yeah, they were thinking that I'm going to like never come home, and I'm never going to visit them, and I'm never going to see them again. But I feel like it was the opposite. Like I was actually like calling them and like following up with them, and we were having lunch and everything like that. So even though for me personally, like my first experience was like, yes, I'm in my room, I have my own I have privacy. No one really tells you, no one tells you like when to come home, like no one knows when you're home, like it's just kind of like your own flow. But I definitely feel like that initial, like after the first week, it's like you wake up somewhere new, you kind of miss having other people in the house that you can just like go into their room and be like, hey, or update them on what's going on. So I definitely feel like that's one of the things. And then that taught me really to value my family time. So now moving back home, that's been something that I actually truly enjoy and am completely present in, because I value that time so much. And I know that this is not going to be like this forever. Number two, everything is expensive. Okay, let's just say that I didn't know that laundry detergent, again, because when you live with your family or in other situations where you don't have to pay majority of the bills, you don't have the responsibility of having to pay and buy, Bounty, toilet paper, laundry detergent, all the necessities and the groceries of the home, right? Well, moving out, everything, I feel like I started adding up and like making budgets and I would be like, oh my goodness, like this is running out all the time. So that was something that I had to learn really, really quickly, that if I wanted anything, I have to like really take advantage and, measure it out and not be wasting a whole bunch of paper, like all the things that you don't think about when you're either at home or you're in another area where you don't have to pay your own bills. So those were things that, again, you just never think about. Even like the essential furniture. Furniture is so expensive. Buying a couch, a TV, a table, all these things. And then plus all the costs that have to do with moving. So one of my friends is moving right now, and this is something that's so relevant because you have to pay for the first month, the deposit, then you have to also pay for the truck or the U-Haul to move everything. And then you also have to pay for the installment of like the Wi-Fi, the cable, depending where you live. Again, those are things that you do not know and you do not learn. At least I didn't. And when I made a budget for moving, those are the things that I didn't really like prioritize, and I'm going to have additional extra money. I remember being surprised at my bill for like the first, I think it was like Wi-Fi and cable in the beginning before I chose that. Netflix was the best decision for me, and just sticking to that, because having cable and Wi-Fi, you had to put like an installment and then it like goes down like 3 months later. Like it was so complicated. And after that, I was like, never having that again. I'm definitely just going to have Netflix and Hulu. So paying for those subscriptions, again, if you have to pay them yourself, those are all the things as you're growing up that are just part of the job, Number 3, I really did learn about food, how to make it, cook, and everything while I was living in my own place. Like having a kitchen, I actually used it. Before living at home, I was like mostly just like on the go. So I was eating out a lot more, but I feel like at home I was like cooking, and I learned that vegetables do not last. So it's like you buy anything like bananas, lettuce, they were going by so fast, like 3 to 5 business days, they were already done. And I would in the beginning, I did like the wrong thing of like trying to buy a whole bunch of groceries for 2 weeks, and then all my vegetables would be messed up by the following week, and so I would have to throw them away. And then before also, I used to shop like at Publix, and then I found out about Aldi's, which was a game changer and saved me so much money, and it was like such better food. So it's just like those are things that you don't think about that at the end of the day can save you so much money, and you just learn. And I feel like I was able to like look up things, meal prep, a lot of things like that, because you have to, again, it's like going back to everything's expensive. If you want to be able to do other things or like eat out, it's not like you actually have to save up for it or have the money for it. And that goes into the next thing about responsibilities of time. Making sure that you make the time to clean, to do your laundry, if you have other things with work, just it's like all on you. And again, these are things that I feel as you get older, but if you've never lived on your own or you've never been away from your house, because I know some people don't live on their own but with a roommate in college, or they've lived for an internship somewhere else, or all those kinds of different experiences. I feel like anything that has to do with you taking full control of that, it is a lot of more pressure, and you grow and you have to learn how to figure it out. Like this is something that it's like you get to the point where you're like, well, I'm definitely not going to ask my mom and dad. Like I definitely, or maybe sometimes you don't have even the way to ask anybody for help, so you just have to figure it out. And of course there was times that were harder than others. Like if I wanted to go on a trip, for example, I had weddings going on during the time that I was living on my own. So it's like trying to like figure out, okay, so like I have to pay my bills on this day and I have all these other bills, like how much, so it's just like all the responsibility that you have to really think about, versus when you either have the help of someone else or you have like the flexibility of being at home or having money, put away. I think that's something else too that people don't think about, is about preparing for moving out. I didn't have thousands and thousands of dollars saved up for the move. And I feel like that's one of the things I wish I would have been better prepared when it comes to having an emergency fund, savings account for like all possible things. Because again, everything happens usually when it rains, it pours. Like, so everything happens at the same time. And so that was something that I wish I would have done and prepared better with, is about making sure that I had the budget for all those things that I needed. A lot of the time when it came to, when you first move in, it took us months really to get the place together and like have things going, because it was like, okay, well, this is expensive. And then having to and also something else is about tolls. In my area, in the area that I was living, it was like 35 minutes away from my job, and I had to take toll roads all the way. So like monthly, it was so bad. It was like from $200 to $300 on tolls a month, and that was literally killing me. And so that's one of the things that I feel like living close to your job or close to your commuting area is something that's so important, because if not, you will also spend so much time driving and being on the, I had to take I-4, which is like a main crazy road here in my area, and it's just something that you just are like, what the heck? Like, it's not a pleasant, ride all the time to work, going and coming. So those are things that I wish I would have known beforehand. And the fifth thing, and I feel like one of the most important things, is about you get to learn so much about yourself. So like, you enjoy and learn to enjoy your own company. And again, this is something that you can do even if you're not living on your own or with a roommate or in whatever space. But this was probably one of the biggest things I took away from my whole experience and time living on my own, is about really knowing myself and like how I work. I know I'm very organized, very clean, and I like things a certain way. I am the kind of person that loves to be at home more than I thought. So before, I was always out again, on the weekends making plans and things like that. But once I moved out and I was at work, and then from work I had another event, and I had school, and I had this, I would literally look forward to being at home on the couch watching a movie. I was looking forward to that. And that was something that I learned about myself. I was like, oh, I guess I kind of like this. I guess this is what I like to do, and just understanding with my emotions, how to deal with being on your own. So getting things done by yourself. I was away from everybody, meaning the area. So my nails, my going shopping, all my everyday things that I would do were most of the time by myself, and I feel like I really started to enjoy that time. And I feel like even now I'm much more independent because of that, because it's most of the things I would do by myself anyways, go to the gym, all these things, I would mostly do it on my own time. So I wasn't needing someone else there or someone else's company at all times. So I definitely feel like that was one of the biggest takeaways for me, which is that I genuinely love, being by myself. I have fun. I can be by myself, hang out by myself, and just I need that time to be on my own, which is something that beforehand I feel like I always had to be around people, and I always had to be distracted in some way, shape, or form. So for any of you guys that has experienced any of those things, there's so many things that people don't tell you. You just sometimes think it's just going to be so much fun, and just you don't think about all the other stuff on the back end. But it is very important to be prepared, and to, if that's something that you want to do, prepare for it whenever that time is right. I know for me, that was one of the best things I could have done. So if you can relate to any of these, or you have your own things you've learned, please share them with me. Make sure to follow me on social media at Elizabeth Sabby, and then subscribe to this podcast. Every review, everything that you guys any feedback is always great, and I love it, and it means so much to me. I had someone message me this week that she was able to listen to most of my podcasts, and she had never listened to podcasts before. And she was like, I didn't know, I needed this. Like, I really felt encouraged and just feeling like, like she relates in some way. So that makes me feel very, very happy, because I feel like I know that this is for someone, So I did ask on social media if you had any questions, and someone asked me what I really love to do, and then an assumption. So what I really love to do is read. I love to be around my family, and I love dressing up. So those are just a few things. So again, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Make sure to stay tuned for next week's episode for an exciting episode after my 25th birthday. So I hope you guys have a great week.